it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it can't sell shit. At some point, you just got to admit that that's a duck.
All right. Welcome, everybody, to week 4 or episode 4 of our Elite Growth Accelerator mini-series. There's 6 episodes, and we're on the 4th episode here in planning for growth and sales. So preparing your sales leadership and sales staff for success. Today, we're going to just go through a bunch of different things that Fitz has done with his sales teams to develop both the management side of it and the sales guys, the boots on the ground. So let's get started.
Yeah. Hard to believe 3 weeks have gone by already, Jake.
Yeah. So we'll do a quick recap of episode 3. In that episode, we covered finance, integration, and marketing. If you guys are just joining us now because you just found us on the interwebs, we definitely recommend you guys going through and checking out the first 3 episodes. So last week, we covered the power of financing and its impact on close rates and job size. Significant increase in those metrics if you pay attention to financing. Understanding why customers need financing help. Another great tool to use and understand with your sales team. Selecting and budgeting for financing programs. This stuff fits his sweet spot. My eyes kind of glaze over and I tune out while he talks about this, but really important to know that this stuff is highly accessible, and with the right relationships in that world, you can make some quick decisions and get that stuff up and going. We also discussed understanding seasonality in your business. We are here in December already of 2025, and a lot of customers are calling Powerful Media saying, what do we do? You know, the sales pipeline's dried up, or marketing isn't working, or my production guys, are wondering what they're doing next week. So really paying attention to this and having a plan for the full 12 months of the year, and not just, week by week or month by month. Also building your marketing mix and tracking KPIs. We covered that last week. And then planning for the 12 months of strategic offers. So key principles that we covered. Financing is a competitive necessity at this point. The majority of the world now runs on financing and monthly payments. It's how the majority of Americans create their monthly budget. It's based on their monthly payments. Marketing should rotate throughout the year, aligned with seasonality, and then never go dark, even in the slow months. This was a big thing that we discussed, where I have a lot of customers that come to me and say, hey, shut it all down. It's not working. I got to save the money. And I always push back on that and say, let's not shut it down. Let's pivot some of the tactics, but let's keep you in front of people. Let's keep that market share going. So today's focus will be preparing your sales leadership the right way and how leaders plan, prepare, and execute for growth. This is going to be a fun conversation with Fitz as he really enlightens us with some of the best practices in developing these great teams. And then we'll be preparing your sales staff for success. Teaching reps to run their business and set their goals is a big deal. And when you invite them into the success at a more efficient and personal level, it definitely helps drive those numbers. So your financing and marketing strategies are in place. Now it's time to build the sales infrastructure to handle the growth that's coming. Let's build a sales system that turns leads into revenue predictably and profitably. All right, Matt. Fitz, you're up.
Yeah, man. So we covered a lot last week, right? And it certainly is a necessity. And I think that there's a lot of good things that groundwork has been laid. And now we're in a position, Jay, where we get to talk about the stars of the show, right? The sales guys, your favorite people on the planet.
They are just glorious individuals.
Well, I appreciate it. I'm going to pretend like there was not gritted teeth while you were saying that. All right. But look, you as an owner or leader, you've prepared, for your goals, your expectations, what you're hoping to put into the bank at the end of the next 12 months coming here in 2026. It's important to make sure that the leaders of your organization, the sales leadership team, and then the people that report to them have very clear expectations as to how they fit into that program. So clear communication to them is going to be key, and how they communicate to their people is going to be key through this process as well too, right? So that we all are making sure we're taking the steps necessary to reach those goals at the end of the year. So let's go ahead and start looking at the leadership team, right? Again, just like we started with building out the plan for the business, it's important that they know the targets and the levers that they need to be paying attention to, working with, and pushing and pulling on to make sure that they're getting the results that they're supposed to be getting, right? I think I've said on many of our shows before in the past, the numbers are the start of the story, right? And if you're not paying attention to them, then you're probably missing big chunks of that story. So the ones that we see here, the KPIs that your sales leaders need to be tasked with and be told, hey, these are the opportunities or these are the areas that you're going to be responsible for watching and looking at. And here are my expectations for what they are this year. The ones that are probably pretty obvious for us, Jay, are the ones that are there on the left in that white box, right? So revenue or volume, you're going to have an overall goal. You're going to break that down by month for them. Close percentage. We're always trying to improve, right? So if this year you were at 30%, the goal shouldn't be 30% again. We should be looking to get a little bit better. Should we be at 40, 50%? That might not be realistic, but we could be 31, 32, like moving the needle there. Now, that net sale per lead issue, we've talked about that. That's the efficiency at which we're running every appointment that we're giving them, that the good people in marketing are giving to the stars and the sales team, right? And then average job size. You're going to go through some sort of price increase. You're going to, tell the sales managers what that's going to be. Here is what we're going to do, and here's what that average job size expectation is. So are we leveraging the tools that we're giving you to make sure that we're getting there? The ones that might be a little bit new or foreign for some of our listeners out there are the ones that are there on the right. Demo percentage. I know you were pretty excited when I put this one on the list. Right. Traditionally, marketing is the one that gets kind of slapped on the wrist for our demo percentage. So when I look at this, I believe that we both share a responsibility in this, right? And I don't know if you remember, we were having this conversation. Do you remember what my expectations are for our team on the sales side for demo percentage?
That's pretty high. I was thinking it was like 80 or 90%.
Yeah. My goal was always 90% or better. And, I think what that stemmed from was I had a really good mentor of mine that when I was a rep, his philosophy was, I'm not getting another 2:00 and I can't make money unless I sell something here. So I may as well exhaust all of my options and find something to try to pitch, to try to sell. And the thought process behind that was the more often that I did that, the more often that I turned over every stone, the more likely that I was to find something that was sellable as opposed to finding things that weren't sellable, right? And it's funny how we can talk ourselves into both of those things just as easily. So
yeah. I like the shared emphasis.
Yeah.
This shared emphasis on that demo with marketing. I gotta bring marketing into this, Fitz. It just has to happen.
We won't let you.
Because on my end,
Go ahead.
Marketers need to care about the quality of the appointment. They need to care about the likelihood that it is that your sales guy is going to have an opportunity to demo. The worst appointments we like to hear about is I showed up and nobody was home, or I showed up and the guy was like, I can't make a decision without my wife, good luck. So it is definitely a shared number, but I love the emphasis for your sales guys saying it's on you to show up prepared to give a demo, no matter what.
Yeah. I think that should be the idea. And look, the reality of it is some of it is outside of their control. Some of it might be outside of the marketer's control. But if we give an example, let's say our goal is 90% as a team and we look up one day and it's 85%. If we're being honest with ourselves on the sales side, the likelihood that marketing is responsible for all 5%, all 5 points, that's probably unlikely because we're human beings and frustration has probably crept in. And I probably had 2 or 3 in a row that were not great, and we probably could have done something better or something went wrong in our process, what have you. It happens, right? And then I get to the 4th one and the 5th one. And all of a sudden I let frustration get the better of me because again, I'm a human being and I throw it away. And if I was being really, truly honest, I could have pushed, I could have found a reason to get it across the finish line. And maybe it doesn't result in a sale, but I am prepared for the next one that I could have gotten, right? And that's where, again, that look in the mirror is really critical. And if we're holding ourselves accountable and we're measuring to it, then I do go and I push maybe a little bit harder on one that I wouldn't have. So that's why this was always on our scoreboard and on our scorecards.
Mm-hmm.
The other one that's on that list, again, it's newer probably for some measuring it, but probably not a shock to many that it's one that I measured and required my guys to measure is finance utilization. If we're looking at 2 numbers and when things go off, close rate goes off, those are usually the first 2 numbers I went and looked at. Are we demoing enough? And are we using our financing enough? Usually one of those 2 numbers was off if we were closing or if our close rate was dipping. They were really good indicators as to, hey, we got to use the tools better or we just got to pitch more. One of those 2 things is going to help us get back on track. So those were really good things for us to be tracking. And like I said, that last one that's on that list, I know sometimes is a little bit of a sticking point for some, but that capacity number, and it probably is a little different than most people think as far as how we want that number managed. So capacity, Jay, for those that maybe don't understand this. If I, as a sales manager, give you as a marketing manager, let's say 10 appointment slots, your goal as a marketing manager is to do what with those appointment slots? Fill how many of them?
Get you 12.
Yeah, that would be awesome, right? Because we know that realistically, one or two of them is going to cancel.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Something comes up, life gets in the way. My goal as a marketing manager would be to, or as a sales manager rather, would be to ensure that you could never fill 10 of them. If you can fill 10 of them, that means you could have filled 12 of them.
Yeah, correct.
So,
yep.
Right. And that means we're pushing people out further and they're buying from somebody else. So my goal was always to keep it at 70, no more than 80%. That's scary. But what does that help me do? That helps me do a lot of things. It helps me allow guys time off when they need it. It helps me performance manage for guys that are struggling. I can put them on ride-alongs. I can bring them in for trainings. I can send them on installs if they can go, see an install, get they can get re-energized rather by what we do and how we do it, seeing happy customers and all the things that go along with that. They can get the opportunity to go knock on doors around an install and talk to other customers who are curious about what we're doing and maybe get an easy sale out of that kind of thing. There's a lot of things that we can do because we're not constrained by having to go see a customer that I paid very good money to get on the board and putting them in the hands of somebody that's not equipped right now to go sell it. I also create some competition on the board. You want more? We got to do a little bit more. And that's an okay thing in a world that is ruled by salespeople who are inherently very competitive. They want to compete with other people that are pushing them to be better. The right people do anyway. So again, it's a number that I think needs to be tracked and pushed on a regular basis. So am I explaining it okay, Jay, those numbers there and why we're putting them on the board that way?
Yeah, I think the sales and marketing should always be in competition as well. My favorite thing to ask a dealer is, are you going to hire another sales guy? Because we can keep them busy. And my least enjoyable conversation is, why haven't you hired another sales guy yet?
Yeah. It's funny, in my previous life, Jay, I oversaw both our marketing department and our sales department. And I was at such conflict with my inner self all the time because I would walk into our marketing room and I would be going there's 2 more slots on the board. Why aren't they filled? Not as, angrily and yelling like that. And then I'd walk into the other room and I was like, they've almost filled the entire board. Where's the recruiting and when are we getting people in this door? Yeah. This is ridiculous. I'm burning through marketing dollars. And then I'd walk out and I'd be like, I need to talk to my therapist because my 2 personalities are really arguing today, but it's a good competition to have because those 2 guys sitting in a room, the marketing leaders and the sales leaders would always be in a little bit of a competition. You're never going to catch us. And yeah, we will. No, you won't. Yeah, we will. It was awesome.
Yeah. So a lot of numbers there to track. And it almost sounds like micromanaging to me. I've talked to a lot of dealers that are like, well, my gut tells me my sales guy's closing at what do you think's a good cadence to manage these numbers? Daily. Oh, that is micromanaging, I'd say.
Yeah. You might have saw my face when you said gut. I don't like gut. And honestly, your gut only works if you're on top of your numbers, if you have a good foundation of the numbers. So yeah, so I used to require my sales managers and sales leaders to send me a daily text. And I learned that from a really great organization in our world. They had their leaders do that. And, I had a meeting one time where I could tell they were frustrated about something. And it turned out it was about the daily text. They thought it was micromanaging, like you just said. They were like, the numbers. We know the numbers. Every time we try to talk to you about something, you can quote them almost like verbatim. So why do you have us do that? And we went through this long process of me asking them a bunch of questions for them to kind of come to the realization of, if they know the numbers and they're on top of them, they don't slide and they get to the issue. And the issue is something going on with an individual, a person on the other side of that number, far quicker than the number was here 3 weeks ago. Now it's here and that person is lost, is gone forever. But instead they saw it yesterday, they saw it the day before, and day 3, they go, that number's heading in the wrong direction. They can pick up the phone, they can make a phone call, right? They see a result. It's a negative result. It's an 0 for 2, but they read through the result and Johnny did the thing that they've been working on for 3 weeks and it looked like it went really well. He's got a 40-minute ride home. He calls him and goes, hey, I saw it. You did really well. Well, I didn't sell anything today. Yeah, but that thing we've been working on, you did great. Now, furthermore, when they show up for my meeting, they can go, look, I know the numbers were here and here yesterday, but here's what we're doing. Here's the progress we're making. The light is right there at the end of the tunnel. It puts me at ease as the owner. Hey, we're working on things. We know we're headed in the right direction. The plan is working. So being on top of the numbers, that is gut. That allows gut to be more accurate, more right. So yeah, look, it might feel micromanaging, but it allows you to make very good decisions. And it allows me not to have to micromanage. It allows me to trust that you're on top of it. I don't have to watch it.
Yeah. I think that's important to notice, that it actually, knowing your numbers brings freedom.
Yeah, 100%. And you don't have to look, if I walked up to one of my people and said, hey, what is this number? My expectation wasn't that you knew it down to like the, 10th of a point. But if you knew it within a point or two, that was good enough. That means to me that you're looking at it on a regular basis. The only other thing that's on here is that we wanted them to plan out competitions and incentives throughout the year. That's part of our budget. That's got to get paid for some way, somehow. So looking at this kind of thing with the targets and demo percentages and knowing when you're going to need to like get them motivated and moving, that's when we want those things hit, team incentives, individual incentives, those kinds of things. We want to have that planned out so that we know when those are going to hit our budget throughout the year. And that should be pretty easy to do when we look at the different programs and things that marketing is going to help us run throughout the year as well too. So having that laid out in that calendar is really, really critical for your management team.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about the competitions and the incentives. I do some stuff on the marketing side with my team of schedulers. But what do you see as some incentives that you've used that have proven to be effective?
Yeah, there's a whole bunch that are out there. And there's always, I think, the debate about, do you do some sort of financial reward or do you do like an actual prize, something physical like a chair or a TV or what have you. Your people are always going to tell you they would prefer the money. And I think when they initially get it, that's probably what they would prefer. Or when the competition is originally rolled out, that's what they would prefer. In the long run, I think you get a better return out of the physical, like trophy type reward. And I always go back to, I have a pair of shoes that I won in a sales competition that my wife tries to throw away on a regular basis. They are disgusting at this point. They are my grass cutting shoes, but they're my trophy. Like I beat everybody else's ass in that competition. I want to have those. It reminds me of a chair that my dad won in a competition that you didn't see. You never sat in that chair because that was his. You weren't the top sales rep. He was, right? Kind of thing. And that is just the way that works. So I think having that, it was always a good thing. We did one time where guys would get a jacket if they were a top performer for the month. And it was hysterical. When they were having a tough time, that jacket came out. They would wear it around the shop. It was their like, a psych up, uniform, so to speak. Like, I can do this. I was a top rep, So I think those are really good things for them to do. Cash and those kinds of things are good, but they get burned through pretty quickly.
Yeah. That's good.
Well, so sales managers have a good foundation. They've been informed of what the goals are, what their roadmap looks like to get there. Now it's their turn to translate this to their people, to show them how they fit into that program. And Jay, you and I did an episode probably about a month or so ago, maybe a little longer than that, where we talked about helping sales reps set goals, or not even just sales reps, just people in general on your teams. One of the missions that we had was teaching them how to run their own business within the business. And we're going to reiterate that a little bit with this conversation, but I think it's really worth reiterating here. So I really, truly believe if you can teach them how to do that and show them that you're investing in them in that manner, that you're trying to teach them how to, one, understand how the business works that they are working within and treat their individual performance as their own business, they get a lot of ownership out of that and a lot of pride in what they're doing and how they're improving and so on and so forth, right? So just like we started with the companies in general that we're working with, we're going to show them a snapshot of where they have finished this year at. So these are all the marks that we looked at, KPIs and everything that, is their performance. And here's where they finished. And then we're going to ask them questions. Same way we asked all of the owners at the beginning of this questions. What do you want to make next year? What's your goal? We see a lot of times in this world where we give them the goals and we give them the targets. This is your quota, right?
Yeah.
And I think whether it's this world or other worlds, like, the example that we did was a trainer, right? Like a physical trainer in the other role play. If you were to walk into a gym today and the trainer said, okay, Jay, the goal next year is to lose 50 pounds. And you go, okay, great. how likely are we to hit that goal?
Not
We don't have
likely at
any-
all.
We don't have any ownership of it. It's really important for you to have ownership of your own goals. So now if you told me, I only want to make, I only want to make an extra $1,000 next year, I'm probably going to tell you we need to do better than that with our goals, right?
Yeah.
But we'll encourage you a little bit to push yourself a little bit. We're creating a culture of continual improvement. So hopefully I don't have to do too much of that. But when we sit down and ask you these things, I want to know realistically what it is that means something to you. And I'm going to help you understand what it takes to get there. So we'll ask the expectations. What do you expect to do this coming year? Income wise, close rate wise, everything improving a little bit within reason, within reach. It's a challenge to get there, but it's not outside of the realm of possibility. And then we're going to put it all down on paper. And then we're going to show them their roadmap, same way we put the company's roadmap together. Here it is month by month. And here's how you get there as far as number of appointments you need, close rate, average job size, so on and so forth. Now, just like the companies, Jay, it just happens because we said it, right?
Yeah. It just happens. That's why running your own business is so easy.
Super easy, man.
Say it and then it happens. So I'm going to ask you to speak a little bit more to, you said something that I think our listeners need to hear over and over again. You said we're creating a culture of continual improvement.
Yeah.
That's powerful.
I truly believe that any team that any successful, least successful team, every day that they are showing up, they're looking for an opportunity to be better than they were the day before. And that was a lesson that my grandfather instilled in me. He was one of my biggest heroes. He was a Marine. And when he finished with the Marines, he started his own electrical contracting company. He used to talk to me on a regular basis. After every baseball game, we would go through every inning of every game and break it all the way down. But every finish of most of our conversations was some variation of, remember, tomorrow's an opportunity to be a little bit better than you were today. And there's a lot of people that would probably think that that was a harsh kind of end to a conversation. And I never took that as I was not good enough. I took it as I had an opportunity, or I had it within me to be even just a little bit better than I was today. And how great is that, right? And what's pretty cool is when you start to surround yourself with people like that, man, you start to realize that the possibilities of where you can go are amazing. And when you start to find other people that are around you like that, the amount of fun that you can have in building something is incredible. So you start to go, okay, like I'm sitting next to, Billy and Sarah and Joey, they feel this way too. And then all of a sudden 2 more people come in like that, and 3 more people come in like that, and 4 more people come in like that. And before you know it, your competitors are looking over going like, maybe we should sell roofs, because we just can't keep up with these guys. Like they're just kicking our ass every day, and we don't have the energy to get up where they are. You're leaving people in the dust. So again, it's not in a leave people behind on your team. It's, I want everybody to push to get better with me. In fact, I want to be chasing everybody else. I want to be trying to keep up with everybody else. But if somebody falls behind me, I'm going to pick them up and carry them with me as well too. So it's a world of continual improvement is what I'm trying to build.
Yep. Yeah, that's really good. And those are the people we're looking for to partner with as we build out programs like this, as people that see the opportunity in front of them and see that, if you have a system built that works pretty well, what does 1% year over year look like in refining your systems, refining your meetings? And as we talk about the numbers a lot because they matter, these numbers set you up to have better meetings, more effective time with your staff, and it gives your staff clarity on what are they doing here. So this is great. I'm having a good time, Fitz.
No way. Marketing guy talking about sales? I don't buy it.
I know.
I don't buy it. You're going to lose.
Don't tell anybody.
Your marketing card. Yeah, exactly. Yep. So, look, I mean, we've gone through this stuff before, with anything. To summarize the last part of this slide here, they have goals. That's great. They have to have a plan on how they're going to hit them. This is where, as a leader, you have to be very good about giving them some direction, at least the first 1 or 2 conversations you're having with them like this. Great. You want to improve here. How are you going to do it? Be specific. What are 2 to 3 things you're going to work on, and how are you going to work on them? And how can I help you? What are 2 to 3 things you need from me in the company to help you do that? So direction, specific direction, and then accountability are going to equal those results for you, right? That was actually a slogan that I had on the wall for us. We knew we were going to get better if we could keep those 2 things adding together, right? So for sure.
So I should probably ask a tough question then. When you're working with a rep, At what point do you say, I've given direction, I've given accountability, it's not equaling results?
Yeah, that's a good question. There's there's a that's a tough, difficult decision to make. That is not one that's made with a light heart. There's no doubt about that. Number one rule that we have in any organization I've ever worked in is if you have to make that decision, the first question that has to be asked is, would this person be surprised? If the answer is yes, then it's not the time. That means that you haven't communicated well enough, trained enough, given enough resources, exhausted all options. We have to try all things before we can do that. If the answer is nope, they will not be surprised by the decision, then you can move forward. The other thing that I would say about this is, as leaders and managers, I had a mentor of mine one time say to me that we all have egos, and that is very true. Some are bigger than others, okay? But we all have egos. And one of the parts of that ego is that we believe that we could train this to anybody. We could make anybody better. And unfortunately, that's just not true. Sometimes this just isn't for everybody. And no matter what you do, lead the horse to water if they just won't drink. The phrase that he used to use that I loved was, if it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it can't sell shit. At some point, you just got to admit that that's a duck. And it's okay. You might be holding them back from doing the thing that they're really good at, and it might be time to let them go do that. So you got to make that decision, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's good. And like you said, I just love the little bit of wisdom you gave on they should never be surprised when you have the conversation of letting them go. I start all like intake processes with new hires with, this job's not for everybody. And I'm going to tell you up front that we are going to be honest with you about how we see your performance going, or, increasing or decreasing. But also I want you to know that you have full permission to tell me how you see it going. And I've had some great relationships with people that they were a great culture fit. They couldn't do the job.
Yeah.
And because I had set them up with permission to tell me how they're doing, they actually saw themselves out the door. They said, hey, Jay, thanks for the opportunity. I really feel like I've tried my best, but it's not working for me. And I'm like, give them a hug or a high five and say, thank you. I appreciate this.
Yeah. They don't always end like that. There's no doubt. But if you can create that culture and you can create that open line of communication, you'd be surprised at how often you do get the high five and the handshake and thank you for the opportunity on the way out the door. Again, it just transparent, good communication and exhausting the opportunity to see if it can work. You can at the very least, lay your head down and go, I did all I could, for sure. So, well, look, it wouldn't be a show with me on it, I guess, at this point, if we didn't talk about financing. But I'm gonna switch it up a little bit. Instead of me rambling on for another 35 minutes about how great using financing is, I want to ask you a question, Jay. So, I think it probably is obvious to most that if we don't talk about it, it doesn't matter. It goes out of sight, out of mind for our people, like most things. But one of the things that's on there is, I think, the adoption or the utilization struggles maybe for individuals is mirrors at times overall organization stuff and adoption for things. Can you talk a little bit, like, as the marketing partner for some organizations throughout it who adopted it early versus haven't adopted it, maybe how that was the case for them as well too, a lack of understanding or overall awareness of the need, and how that impacted, and then what they saw when they saw the light, kind of thing?
Yeah, I've talked to a lot of them over the years, and as the culture has changed, as the economy has changed, those that didn't accept it early were coming to me saying, your leads are bad, my close rates dropped. First thing I asked them, actually, to mimic my inner Fitz, is, do you guys offer financing? And they say, no, it's too complicated. Or they say, people that have to finance, those aren't my customers. The ICP, the ideal customer profile. And they say, no, that can't be the problem. And I say, well, your leads are good. My team vets them before we put them on your calendar. So something else has changed. And so a lot of conversations with those early adopters where they're also going, hey, I've got guys selling at 40% now. This was a 30% closer. Now he's selling at 40%. And I say, well, what's the secret? He started offering financing. So it is a big deal, and it is a big hurdle to talk them through it. And one of the things that I like about powerful media is connection to the system, the dealer network, is I then get to share the success stories of the early adopters with the late adopters dragging their feet saying, I don't want to learn another thing.
Yeah, I'm convinced whenever I'm introduced to a rep or an organization that is dragging their feet on it, or we don't need it, or it doesn't work, or whatever variation of the speed bump or roadblock that they put in their own way of this, at its core, it's a real lack of understanding of one of two things, if not both. One, how to use it in the home, or two, just how it works in general. And that leads to just a total uncomfortableness of talking about it. And that means that you just don't use it, right? And the second you start talking about it on a regular basis as a owner or leader and a manager of a team, then what they know is it matters, and he's not going to shut up about it. So we're going to have to start using it, so he won't talk about it as much. And then two, if you start training it on a regular basis and showing them, here's how this program works, and breaking it down and walking them through the tools and making them aware of, here's where you go to enter this in, and showing them step by step, it becomes muscle memory. And now it's just second nature to them. And what do you know? All of a sudden, the customer that didn't need it, wasn't interested in it, goes, that's interesting. I would like to know more about it. And I would like to buy a bigger project as a result of it fitting in there. And instead of it doesn't work or my customers don't need it, to your point, we were doing okay before at 30, now he's 40%, and we're getting so much more. What changed? Nothing. Just this, right? I didn't spend more on marketing. I didn't do, bigger territory. We added this tool that works, right? So talk about it often, train it often, make sure they understand it, create a culture around it where they're asking questions when they don't feel comfortable with it. So, and train it constantly, add it as part of your training. I can't stress it enough. So Jay, I know you've gone through gritted teeth today, and I appreciate you being patient, and also so very excited. For those of you who don't know, Jay has been jumping up and down going like, sales, sales, sales. I can't wait till the sales episode. He won't let it show on the screen, but I appreciate it, buddy. But that's it. No more sales talk for the day, at least for now.
Yeah. Until the next episode where you bring it up again.
That's it. Yeah. So I'll call you right after this.
Yeah. Lots to go over. But we're going to, first off, thank you guys for joining. We covered a lot today in a short amount of time. So just real quick recap. How great sales leadership plans, prepares, and executes for growth. The number one thing that we can't iterate enough is know your numbers, know your numbers, know your numbers. If you need help with that, I know in one of our earlier episodes, we offered a free spreadsheet download for you to get started, but know those numbers. And that's going to allow you to have KPIs and then manage those better. And it's going to help you to understand how to have those great conversations with your sales team. So understand your KPIs, understand seasonality, and plan for training and hiring calendars. Teaching sales reps to run their business, set goals, build roadmaps for success. This really is, a business development plan where you bring everybody at all levels in your organization into alignment with what the overall goals are. And I know a lot of owners that I've met with over the years say, I just want a great business. And I'm like, awesome. Have you told your team? Well, they should just know. They can't know. So let's get this information in front of them. And then obviously let's integrate financing into the sales process and make it part of that culture. The culture is a culture of providing a great service for the customers. If you've spun financing into a negative, you need to come and just readdress your opinion of financing. And it really is an opportunity to serve more people, which is kind of the goal of running a great business. So your homework, should you choose to accept it, is build out your hiring calendar. We're in December. Busy season's going to be here in 3 months, 2 months maybe. Home show season's going to be starting end of January, February, right? For some parts of the country. So if you don't have enough sales reps, you need to be planning that now. You need to get them into the organization, get them trained and ready to go. Build that training calendar out, and then schedule your sales reps end of year one-on-one planning sessions. I know we're here in December. I know it feels like maybe there's not enough time, or, some of your reps I know take end of year time off because it's slow, but definitely get them scheduled, work through your KPIs and get that scheduled. So coming up next week, episode 5, inspect what you expect. So we're going to be talking about building scorecards, building leaderboards. We're going to talk more about how to run those one-on-ones, and we're going to talk about the frequency of running them. So just kind of the nuts and bolts of how to create and structure that organization. So your goals are set, marketing is planned, your sales team is prepared to sell, your processes are in place. So next week, the systems to track, measure, and optimize performance. So before I close this out, Fitz, any last closing remarks for the listeners?
Yeah, I think that there's a ton that has been covered in these 4 weeks, and there's a lot to digest and put together. I know we've provided links for calls. We're here to help with that stuff. So please take advantage of that. Start with one thing. If you just started with one, that clarity, Jay, you just made a really good point. The expectation that your people just know because it's something you decided on is not the case. That clarity that you can give your organization by putting one of these things down on paper, putting it in front of them, is a target that I promise you will find is achieved so much easier, so much quicker than you could have imagined, and a lot cleaner. The chaos and the confusion that happens in a lot of organizations is because we don't plan and we don't communicate, and we sometimes don't, we do one or not the other, right? And the reality of it is if you take one of these things and put it on paper and put it in a room on a board and make sure that you talk about it every single day, and we all know where we stand in relationship to that goal, I promise you that goal gets achieved pretty quickly and pretty easily, right? So what you measure ends up happening.
Yeah, definitely. So I will close this out with, if you haven't rung the bell, click the subscribe or the like or the follow, we'd appreciate it if you would. We want to build a community here at the Fitz and Franson Show of like-minded individuals that are both building great organizations and also helping others build great organizations. So until we meet again for episode 5, have a great week.
Happy hunting, everybody.